So, with the holidays looming just around the corner, I thought for today's video that I would maybe try and kill two birds with one stone and make a video that would not only hopefully be interesting to watch, but that would also help me out in the gift department. So today, we are going to make a cross-slide feed screw for a South Bend 9-inch lathe. There is a lot of work to get through for this particular part. However, there are arguably three main features, and all of these features need to be concentric. These three main features are, of course, the Acme thread, which is the feed screw. Then on the rear of the part is a shaft section, which is where the handle and the micrometer dial, etc. all attach. And in the middle of the part is an involute gear that is used for the power feed. I am beginning here by turning down the OD for that involute gear. After getting this diameter turned down to size, I'm just going to switch to a parting tool and make a nice obvious mark that will represent where the gear ends and the Acme thread begins. Next, I will flip the part around so that I can face and put a center in the other end. And this is part of how we're going to hold on to the work and maintain concentricity. That involute gear is located pretty much right in the middle of the part. So by machining that diameter first, I have given myself a reference surface that I can use for all upcoming operations. So all operations from here on out will be performed with that surface held in the collet, and all features will thereby be machined concentric with that gear. So now it is time to turn down the major diameter for the Acme thread. Again, this is being machined concentric with that involute gear because the gear is being held in the collet. Because I know that I will get some comments about this. Yes, you could turn this between centers. That is one way to do it, but that is not the only way to maintain concentricity on a part. Shooting for right around 435 on the OD here, and that's 434, I'll take that. But the real test is, what does it say on the other end? How straight is the part? And I don't want to get cocky here, but I think I nailed it. Here I am just cutting my thread relief. Here's a tip that you probably already know, but I just figured out. If you cut your thread relief to the nominal depth of whatever thread you're cutting, when you then go to cut the actual thread, you don't even have to look at your dials. You can just plunge your form tool until you begin to scratch the surface of that thread relief, and you should then be right on size for your thread. I'll be using these TNMC inserts to cut the thread. You could just as easily grind a form tool, but I got this insert holder in a box of stuff that I bought a while ago, and it's kind of nice just knowing that you put the correct size insert in and you're good to go. The thread that I'm going to be cutting is a 7/16 10 TPI Acme thread. It is a left-handed thread, so I will need to reverse my lead screw. Because this thread is so long and thin, I will be using the follow rest, but I have to confess I almost tried to get away without it. I have not had very good luck with follow rests in the past. They just never seem to be where you need them to be, but after setting this one up, I have to admit that it's one of the better positioned follow rests that I've ever used. Because I am a firm believer in and frequent experiencer of Murphy's Law, I will start off by taking a scratch pass. Besides, ruining hours of work with a single dumb mistake happens to be one of my greatest talents, and I would like to avoid that here. With the pitch confirmed and my anxiety now at ease, I can proceed with cutting the rest of the thread. I've got to say, the follow rest really turned out to be the bee's knees here. I didn't have any issues whatsoever, despite the fact that this was a very long and very thin thread. Once the tip of my tool just starts to scratch my thread relief, I know that I should be at the correct depth for this thread, so I can knock off the burrs and try a test fit. This is just a random piece of brass that I drilled a hole in and tapped for this thread, so I know that it looks like it's wobbling, but that's just because it's not tapped straight. This is actually a really nice fit on this thread, and you can see here that there is virtually no lateral movement at all. Laying out the main rear shaft now, this section rides in a steel bushing in the cross-slide casting, and the micrometer dial rides on this section as well. This section needs to be turned down to 3/8 of an inch or 375 thou, and you want a pretty close tolerance on this dimension because you want a nice running fit inside of that bushing and for the micrometer dial as well. And I think that'll work just fine. And I'll just use my parting tool here to put a bit of a relief in this corner, get rid of any radius that's left over from turning, and then it's just a couple of small things left to do on the lathe. I'll just go ahead and lay out this next feature, and then I'm going to switch to a 3/8 collet so that I can ditch the tailstock for these next couple of operations. This section here is where the hand crank attaches, and this needs to be turned to 313 thou. Again, a close tolerance is key here because you want a good fit on that hand crank. With that done, I'll turn down this last section for a 12/24 thread, then just relieve these last two corners a little bit and move on to tapping this thread on the end. This thread is for the small nut that holds everything captive when the feed screw is installed. Here is a quick look at what we have so far. It is actually starting to look like a feed screw now. Not a whole lot left to do, but for the rest of the operations, it is time to head on over to the milling machine. The first thing that I want to tackle at the milling machine is that involute gear. So to accomplish that, I'm going to be using this 5C indexing fixture. This fixture is capable of indexing up to every 15 degrees, so it'll be perfect for this gear. It is important that I get my cutter located accurately on the center line of the part in the Z-axis. So to do that, I am going to be using this planer gauge. I can use this planer gauge to easily locate the bottom of the part by sliding the planer gauge up until it touches and stops against that bottom surface. I then bring my cutter down to touch the planer gauge and zero my quill DRO. I can then move up half the diameter of the work minus half the thickness of the cutter, and I'll be right on center line. Then I just lock my quill in that position and I am ready to begin cutting the gear. I am going to be using spray coolant for this. I need to keep things nice and cool, and I'm running the cutter at a low speed of right around 130 RPM. The process of cutting a gear is actually kind of monotonous. I know that I have a gear tooth located at every 2 notches on my indexing head because my head indexes every 15 degrees and I have a gear tooth at every 30 degrees. I think that the real challenge when cutting a gear is in the setup. You have to get the setup right. Once you take the first cut, you're committed, and if you forgot something or overlooked something in the setup, you've just scrapped your part. But if you got it right, when you bring that indexing head back around to 0, that cutter lines up with your first tooth and everything is perfect. And there's really just one thing left to do, and this project will be finished. The last feature that we need to make is a circular keyway cut into the end here. The hand crank on the South Bend 9-inch lathe is tied to the feed screw with an 1/8 inch hardened pin. I'll use an edge finder to quickly find the center of the part, and once I have the center, I will use an 1/8 inch ball-nosed end mill to cut the circular keyway. That 1/8 inch hardened pin is what locks the hand crank to the feed screw and allows you to manipulate the feed screw using that hand crank. Without it, the handle would just spin on the end of the feed screw. Well, there it is. A brand new cross-slide feed screw for a South Bend 9-inch lathe. This feed screw will work for either of the models with power feed, so that's either a 9A or a 9B. I am pretty happy with how this thing came out. A project like this can be a lot of fun and, in my opinion, presents a relatively decent challenge as well. Not only do you have to make an accurate Acme thread and an accurate Involute gear, but you have a lot of other features to keep track of as well, and all of those features need to be located relatively precisely in relationship to each other, and they all need to be kept concentric as well. I know a lot of folks out there have the South Bend 9-inch lathes, and I know that this is one of the parts that wears out in pretty much every machine. So in my opinion, a project like this can be really gratifying for someone who has maybe spent a little bit of time in the shop, has learned how to use their tools, has picked up a few techniques, and is ready to take on something maybe a little bit beefier and end up with something very useful that's going to make your machine better in the end. So I highly recommend this project for anybody out there who fits that description. And with that, I guess that we are coming to the end of another video. I hope that you guys enjoyed this one. I know that I kind of crammed a lot into this video. Honestly, I feel like I could probably do separate videos on all of the different parts of a project like this. And I know that people have in fact been asking for things like tutorials and just sort of more in-depth videos where I talk more about how to do some of the things that I show on this channel. And that is definitely something that I want to do and am going to do in the coming new year. 2024 is going to be the year of Hirsch Tool. The support that you guys have shown this channel has already turned it into something far beyond my expectations. So in the new year, I would like to meet that support with a renewed commitment to work harder than ever and see just how far we can take this thing. And I guess that's about it. As usual, if you have watched this far into the video, thank you so very much. I truly appreciate each and every one of you. If you are already a subscriber, thank you again. And if you are not a subscriber, but you like what I do here and you feel like I've earned it, give me a like and a subscribe. If you feel like I haven't, let me know what I can do better in the comments down below. And as always, until next time, get out there, make something awesome. Most importantly, have some fun, and I hope to see you all again very, very soon.